Hello, hello, hello.
If you head to Twitter and bored at school isn't already on the current trending list, search the phrase and you'll be sure to find a plethora of tweets ending with the infamous phrase, a daily occurrence on Twitter.
Students' boredom may be deemed typical and expected by some, but the overwhelming amount of students complaining of boredom needs to be considered a cry for help. A 2007 article aptly titled "Bored High School Students" from the American School Board Journal shared the results of a study about student boredom. The survey of 81,000 students from 110 schools in 26 states found 2/3 of high school students complaining of boredom, usually because the subject matter was irrelevant or their teachers didn't seem to care about them.
As future educators, we're nearly discouraged by the chaos that appears to be the world of education. There are parties fighting for reform in every aspect of education, from school lunches to school day schedules to issues of testing. We took a particular interest in student boredom, and how teachers can integrate more effective strategies into the classroom. We relied on current research about educational strategies and interviews with actual students from ages 10 through college undergrads to inform our work.
First, we will decode the pitfalls of traditional education and the initiative to move forward. Next, we will discuss the miscue or disconnect in education as students are resistant to interactive education, despite their boredom. And finally, we will show a running record of what students do desire in an ideal classroom. Influential reasons so many students report of boredom is the testing culture in the United States. In pre-service education classes, we are bombarded with bleak tales of teachers simply teaching to the test and how little they enjoy teaching because of it. And if one is not teaching to the test, they're feeling pressure from administration and achievement standards that sway school funding finances to focus their curriculum on teaching students how to take high-stakes tests. This has been the standard in the classrooms last decade. However, there is a movement happening in the educational sphere in which professionals are rallying and providing the research and resources to share with the world that what's more important is that students are taught to think for themselves. There are new initiatives to practice student-centered teaching that allow students the opportunity and skills necessary to discover information for themselves and to analyze it critically before applying it to the world. While educators and teacher preparation programs are beginning to adopt this mentality and apply it to their curriculum and planning, a strange phenomenon is at work to slow down this reform. Most surprisingly, it is that students are resisting this inquiry-based, problem-solving educational approach.
You'd think, with how boring traditional education seems, and since research shows that students learn so much better through other methods, that students would be eager to receive instruction in new ways. As it turns out, that's not really the case. In a 2000 study by Hativa and Birnbaum, a sample of undergrads given a questionnaire about their educational preferences overwhelmingly responded that they preferred more than any other method for learning, listening to an interesting, organized lecture. And that was from among several options, including instruction that quote, provides for students' needs in learning. Several other studies, including Bukhasen in 2006, Halks, Mark, and Raybould in 2005, and Crenshaw in 2011, confirm that especially post-secondary students resist learning or using higher-order thinking skills because of the greater intellectual labor they require relative to simply passively receiving information. Students expect to sit quietly and listen while their instructors fill their period by lecturing. Teachers using active learning strategies violate these expectations, making some students uncomfortable, resentful, and resistant. Anyone who has witnessed such an attempt is familiar with the signs: students rolling their eyes, complaining, or refusing to participate in the activities altogether. Of course, this isn't something that just all of a sudden happens when students reach college. In the United States today, students are being inculcated with an attitude of resistance towards active learning at an alarmingly early age. We asked Maeve how she preferred to learn. She explains that learning in a traditional way often simply serves her purposes more efficiently than any other more engaging ways of learning.
I think I would like to work more out of the book because sometimes in the book other things have changed and sometimes it can just become boring.
Students aren't going to change unless teachers prompt them to. People tend towards pragmatism. In American schools today, success means getting good grades. And so grades motivate students. And as long as good grades continue not to require profound engagement with the material, students won't be motivated to truly learn.
We've shown evidence that students do learn through traditional learning styles. However, there are other learning strategies that can be useful in the classroom. As teachers, it is very important that we are cognizant in the ways that we teach our students. We need to make sure that we are using all sorts of different forms of teaching so that each and every student feels comfortable learning in the classroom environment. It is important to compare student learning preferences across grade levels as well as across different content areas. According to Lauren P. Goldberg, in the study, What Students Really Want in Science Class, students want fun and digital resources, more hands-on and lab activities, and opportunities for active and interactive learning. And that was from her study in 2011. The study shows that students enjoy learning through different applications. However, we wanted to take a deeper look into the mind of a young science student. So I interviewed Maeve, who is a 5th grade student with a particular interest in science. To you.
To me, because I want to do something when I grow up about science, I pay special attention in science class because I think that's very important for my education.
Okay, and so when you're in science class, especially, what learning styles do you like? Do you like visually learning? Do you like hearing it? Do you like taking notes? Do you like just when the teacher talks? Do you like hands-on stuff when you do experiments? What's your favorite kind of learning, and how do you think that helps you learn the material?
I like hands-on the best because that kind of lets you feel what it would like to be doing that in the real world. So that's what I'd prefer during science class.
The anticipated outcome of this approach to teaching is a higher level of student achievement and increased student motivation. The student interviews we conducted overwhelmingly supported this hypothesis. For example, one of the questions we asked Maeve was what she liked to learn about in school. Her response focused on relevance and authenticity. Our findings indicate that students are also requesting more hands-on and authentic learning activities in their classrooms. In hands-on learning, students actually perform their subject, and through this process construct meaning and acquire understanding. Hands-on learning makes this learning experience more authentic. Authentic learning involves presenting students with problem-solving activities that incorporate realistic, real-life questions, ideally in a format that encourages collaborative effort, dialogue with informed expert sources, and generalization of broader ideas and application. Making students' learning more hands-on and authentic encourages active participation and the formation of a learning community where the teacher is not the only source of knowledge and information. Not surprisingly, considering he's much farther along in his education and the application of what he's learning to his future career is more clearly in sight, when we asked Joe the same question, he also replied that relevance and authenticity were huge concerns for him as a college undergrad.
I want to learn like real world aspects of my major. So like I want to know how the business world is really like instead of just textbook.
Teachers across the country are attempting to meet these needs through more hands-on and authentic learning in their classrooms, and the results have so far been encouraging. In their 1998 article, Paris, Yamber, and Packard studied the effects of a hands-on approach in science classrooms in several grades. Across the board, the researchers found significant increases in students' interests in science and significant improvements in their problem-solving skills at science. And though hands-on learning is probably most obviously and easily applicable to a science classroom, teachers are finding ways to successfully appropriate this nuts and bolts strategy to more traditionally conceptual subject areas. In a 1998 article, Garrity reports on a high school geometry classroom that attempts to transition from emphasizing memorization and information giving to more hands-on learning and the use of manipulatives to develop visual skills. The study found that following the institution of more hands-on cooperative learning, students showed more positive attitude towards math and desire to work with partners or in cooperative groups. Students also indicated a preference for use of hands-on learning and the use of manipulatives over using traditional methods in the math class in the future. Our undergraduate interviewees note that the system of specialization through majors in colleges and universities helps alleviate some authenticity issues in undergraduate classes.
I feel like in college we're studying what we want to go into, so we're more interested in topics. So we're not taking history courses if we're a business major, kind of taking classes that we want to learn more about, so it's easier that way.
I think high school was a lot of, like math classes and, stuff that I wasn't really interested in. So if I'm not interested in the class, it's harder for me to do well in them. And like at my school, we didn't really have like that many electives that I could take that would fit into my schedule. So I guess I'm used to like the core classes, and being at a liberal arts school, it's kind of what I have here too. So having major classes is nice.
But while it's easier for teachers to see how to make learning authentic when their students already have an idea of how they want to apply it to their future careers, authenticity has to be present in a high school classroom and earlier, or students won't be motivated. Increasing hands-on learning strategies is one way to accomplish this.
We see from a first-hand experience that students benefit from learning through activities in which they have hands-on experience. According to the study, they enjoy doing activities that help them learn, remember, and understand. According to students, doing activities before a topic is introduced helps them to understand subsequent lectures. Doing activities after a topic is covered allows them to apply and consolidate their knowledge.
Peer collaboration can best be described as interactions among peers that supports learning. Maeve mentioned a preference of working together.
In math class, let's see. Yeah, I find it very easy to work with someone else because for especially word problems, you can have different input on what the problem may be.
Okay.
So I think it's very helpful.
Research dictates that for peer collaboration to be effective, allowing students individual exploration before peer work is key. In an article titled Peer Collaboration in a Hypermedia Learning Environment by Sandra Turner, found in a 1997 issue of Journal of Research on Computing Education, Turner dictates that exploration is instrumental in establishing multiple kinds of expertise among members of the class. Knowledge became a commodity to be exchanged and shared. When we think of how peer work in classrooms looks today, it seems as though students are often paired or assigned to groups without two things. First, acquiring the skills they need to function effectively in groups, and second, individual time to focus their thinking and acquire some knowledge and direction on the topic or task at hand. Brainstorming in groups without individual voices can be nearly impossible. Hence Turner's advice that we first allow our students an opportunity to explore the task, such as is the case with the Think, Pair, Share literacy strategy. Possible benefits of this include a more relaxed atmosphere in which students are better able to work. And some teachers from Turner's article even reported fewer discipline problems with this approach.
In today's world, the use of technology is vital to each and every person. The more technology that can be used in class, the better. But how do our students really feel about all the new technologies that we use in our classroom lessons? According to this survey in 2011, what do students want in science class? As one might expect, students in our studies say they enjoy learning with computers. Many students said that biology, more than any other class, exposes them to the most digital resources, including short video clips, animations, and phenomena that not easily observed, interactive models and activities in which they manipulate variables or pieces of a model.
What kind of technology do you guys have at your school, and how do you use it? Do you guys have smart boards?
Yeah, we have smart boards instead of whiteboards.
Okay.
And they're just kind of like big tablet screens, and we use it sometimes for writing or looking up different websites.
Okay, now, does any of your teachers, or you just have one teacher, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Well, actually, I switch out for math and science.
Okay, so since science is your favorite class, when you're in that class, how does your teacher utilize the smartboard?
In science, she goes on this teacher's tube thing that our school has, and she looks up different videos that can teach us about the kind of thing we're doing, like maybe chemistry or that kind of thing.
Okay, so do you think that since you guys, because you were at school before smartboards too, right? Because I didn't have them either. So do you think?
I just got them last year.
Okay, so do you think having the smartboards makes it easier or harder? And do you think that a lot of the students like using like when the teachers use the smartboards, or how does that?
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier because you can it's a lot easier to interact with different activities, and our whole class loves it when the teacher does it because a lot of times the different educational things are games you can play.
Okay. Let's see. Do you have some teachers that use it better than others?
Yes, I do. My homeroom teacher doesn't use it very much besides whiteboards, but my math teacher especially uses it for different math videos and that kind of thing.
Okay.
As we see in both our interviews and our research, students do feel that they benefit from learning using new technologies commonly used in classrooms today. Now that we have a fifth grader's perspective, let's take a look at the perspectives of college undergraduate students. How do they feel about the use of technology in class lecture Do they use it differently at their level?
And so going kind of more along what you said about the learning visually, and so how do you want to learn it? Do you like the role of technology in your classroom? Like, do you like a lot of technology or not a lot of technology? What helps you learn the most, get the most out of each class that you're in?
I like a lot of technology because I like to see statistics and what works, and stuff like that.
Well, I guess as a student, I respond better when my teacher changes it up. So instead of like just going off of PowerPoint continuously, it's nice to have like a video thrown in there, or if you write something on the board, that way it's like catches my attention, so I'm not just focusing on one thing.
And do you have classes that don't really utilize like technology or don't utilize the learning styles that you guys like, and how does that feel when you're in that class?
Yeah, definitely have classes like that. They're boring and I tend not to do as well in them.
Okay.
I would agree. And especially with my business classes and my public relations, since everything is becoming more technologically advanced, I don't really have as many of those classes, though.
Okay.
So when I do have them, it's really hard to like stay focused.
So if you were to change one thing about some of those classes, like what would you do if you could step into the shoes of the professor or teacher?
Well, I think they should take advantage of, especially since the school offers so many like tools. Like we have an integrity thing where our teachers can record our classes in case I miss a class. So some teachers don't even take advantage of like technology like that. So.
And even I have some classes that don't post grades online, so I have no idea where I'm at.
Okay.
I like when we can know where we're at in the class.
Even though these students are 8 years apart in their level of schooling, they both said that they prefer learning in an environment that utilizes technology to benefit their education.
Modeling is another approach that students are requesting in an ideal classroom.
My name is Nathan Diaz. I'm 11 years old, and I'm in 5th grade, and I just said what it is, right?
Whatever you want to learn, yep.
I want, like, when I do projects, I want, I want our teacher to, I wanted to, do it, with us, and, cause she usually she makes it and then shows it to us, and then tells us what to do and then writes it on the board, and, I just wanted to, do it with us.
Okay, so in college, when in my teacher education classes, we call that modeling. So you want her to model the project for you step by step instead of just showing you the finished project? Okay, why would you like her to do that?
It's because a lot of kids do that.
Authors Reagan and Berkeley argue in their article, Effective Reading and Writing Instruction, a Focus on Modeling, published in the journal Intervention in School and Clinic in 2012, that for modeling to be of value, it should be explicit. Modeling that includes specificity, explicitness, and flexibility should be used with any evidence-based practice to improve the learning of students.
When is it appropriate for a teacher to take a back seat and let the students run the discussion? Will the students learn the material needed to be covered if it isn't directly instructed to them by the teacher? According to the study by Goldberg, students commented that their classes provide few opportunities for whole class and small group discussions. However, they appreciate and learn from these opportunities when they occur. One student said, "The teacher lets us talk to her and give feedback instead of making us sit there and do nothing. Some teachers do not let us talk or really let us give our opinions. Another shared that information is easier to retain in a group and is more fun." A third student, reflecting on a common teacher perception that students veer off topic when they work together, explained that, "I like doing group work. Sometimes I get off topic if I work by myself." But can this be said about all students? How about students of different age groups? Let's take a look at what a 5th grade perspective by Maeve and what she had to say.
In some of your other classes, maybe this might not apply to science and math as much. Do you have kind of class discussions where the teacher will ask a question and then the students kind of just go back and forth, answering the questions, and that it's more of a student-led discussion? Do you guys do that at all?
Yes, especially in reading class.
Okay.
We each have a book, and she puts out a question about the book, and we get in smaller groups, like 3 or 4, and we talk about different answers we have for it.
And do you think that type of learning is helpful because you're able to bounce ideas off of your friends and classmates, or?
Yeah, so you can kind of see all perspectives of the thought process and think in just more than one dimension.
Okay. And then when you guys do that kind of work, how does your teacher kind of act as like a facilitator? Does she walk around and see that everybody's working, and then yeah?
Yeah, she walks in and kind of drops in different conversations to help it along.
Okay. Anything else you want to add about school? What you like or dislike, or?
There's something that I kind of dislike, which it's the fact that sometimes with the testing, we don't think about what we're doing. It's just kind of memorizing and answering questions.
Wow. Okay.
It is evident that students do enjoy working with other students, as it allows them to share their opinions about the class material in a more informal setting. But does this change as students reach college and if they're studying information in the field of which they are interested in?
If you can remember back to high school and some of your classes now, do you guys do a lot of like student-led like discussions where they put you in groups, you just kind of talk, and the teacher kind of steps aside? Do you guys think that's better, worse, or different? Like, how do you in contrast to just sitting there and having the teacher lecture, what do you like about when the teacher says, well, throws out a question and the student bounces, all the students bounce ideas back and forth? Is that more helpful, or how do you guys feel about that kind of learning?
I think that's definitely more helpful. Discussion-based classes make you think more critically, I think, about topics. So, like, I had a course that we read books, and then we had to, think about each aspect of the book, and it was just students throwing out ideas back and forth. The teacher kind of just facilitated a little bit. So I thought that helped us understand and stay more interested throughout the class.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm in the honors program here, and the class is all discussion-based, so it's student-led. And sometimes it's helpful when our teacher steps in, though, because we'll get into a standstill or we'll get off topic. So having, like, a facilitator is nice, but, yeah, I would say we get a lot more out of it because we're forced to think for ourselves.
Okay. Awesome. That's it. Thank you guys very much.
You're welcome.
It seems that the answer is pretty clear. Students do enjoy learning in a student-led discussion setting. It allows them the opportunity to see firsthand what their classmates and colleagues are thinking about during class.
Another thing students are requesting in classrooms is more attention to their preference for visual texts. Language began as a very visual thing, developed to communicate information about the world and that the communicators saw. Written language began as simple pictures. Images were used to represent concepts. Over time, letters replaced images, and communication essentially lost its visual aspect. In modern society, communication is largely verbal, so education is largely verbal. But for many learners, this is an ineffective way for them to learn. Visual thinking is a learning style where the learner better understands and retains information when ideas, words, concepts are associated with images. Visual learners prefer things like charts, maps, graphs, data, images, and photographs. Estimates suggest that visual learners account for around 35% of the population, so it's a safe bet that they make up a significant portion of pretty much every classroom. Our findings suggest that classrooms benefit from more attention to visual learners' needs. Of the students we interviewed for this project, several mentioned that they preferred teachers that use more visual learning strategies in their teaching. For example, Nathan discusses how his social studies teacher motivates him more than any of his other teachers through the use of props and pictures, which for him really brings the material to life.
What's your favorite class?
Social studies.
Okay. Why is that your favorite class?
Because, like, she's just funny and stuff, and, like, like, she'll pull out, like, if there's, like, if she's talking about, like, American war and stuff, she'll pull, like hats and, like, flags out stuff.
So that's cool. So she kind of brings it to life. What does an average day in social studies look like?
Well, like, if she's talking about, like, a war or something, she'll, like, take out, like, pictures of, she'll take out, like, pictures of, like, their guns and stuff.
Okay.
And then she'll tape it on the wall.
Okay.
Like, and then for, like, a week, we can go over there and look at it.
And do you guys use a textbook?
No. Well, yeah, sometimes.
Okay, so for the most part, she just kind of talks to you and you uses pictures?
Yeah, she puts some pictures on this book.
Okay. So do you have any other classes that show a lot of images when teaching? No. So I'm wondering if maybe you're a kind of person that prefers to see something when you learn it instead of words, but you want like a real image? Huh, that's kind of cool.
Similarly, Joe and Caroline both mentioned enjoying visual learning and described the ways that professors use technology to incorporate the visual and help break up the monotony of a verbally dominant lesson, and how this has a positive effect on their ability to stay motivated and learn the material.
I prefer to learn visually. I like to see charts and graphics that help me understand concepts better.
The research suggests that Joe and Caroline are not alone in their preferences. In student engagement, visual learning, and technology, can interactive whiteboards help? William Beelan Jr. investigated whether student engagement in the learning process is increased while using an interactive whiteboard to deliver instruction. The results of the surveys and questionnaires indicated a strong preference for the use of this visual tool. The hypothesis holds up in practice too. In a 2006 study, Clark, Flaherty, and Yankee found that student performance and overall course satisfaction can be enhanced by combining visual summaries with more traditional instructional approaches. In addition to incorporating more visual elements in instruction, teachers can meet the needs of visual learners by allowing more freedom in how students complete tasks and demonstrate knowledge. In a 2003 study by John Vincent, researchers examined the writing of a case study group of 5 upper primary children with a strong preferred visual learning style when the children were encouraged to write with the aid of a computer and visually rich software medium. What they found is that the students' writing outcomes grew in volume and linguistic complexity when the students were offered the opportunity to use visual and animation features of the software while they were engaging in narrative writing tasks.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed our interview about education and how to harmonize traditional education, traditional learning styles with the newer educational learning philosophies that we have today, including education and things like hands-on learning.
Like any research, our research does have some biases to be sure of. The videos that we showed you are all videos of students who live in Illinois and are upper middle class white students. We believe that had we been able to interview students across the United States from varying ethnic backgrounds or various social economic statuses, we may find that there are different strategies preferred by